Mr. Transformers 96 here with the video review. This time I'm going to be reviewing an Iron Studios statue. This will be the first time I'm reviewing an Iron Studios product, just because this is one of the first ones I got. I actually ordered two of them, and they both arrived on the same day. It was Cull Obsidian and Hela, but I am reviewing this one first, of course, so very excited to get this one. This is actually the Iron Studios product that really got on my radar. I had seen Iron Studios before, of course, admired their original Avengers statues, things like that, but this was the first one where I was like, whoa, I really want this. And it took me a long time to make the decision to purchase it. However, I finally did, and I did after they announced that they're doing the rest of the back order as well. So at the end of this video, I'll probably talk about what I'm hoping for with the rest of them. But for right now, here's the box for Cull Obsidian. It is massive. Like I said, I got this the same day as Hela, and the box size was ridiculously smaller. As you can see, her box is almost half the size of his, just height-wise, and then width-wise is about half as well. So you're looking at a big difference in height if you do collect Iron Studios. This is one of their biggest 1 in 10 scale products. I'm trying to think if they've done any bigger ones. There was just a single figure. This might be the biggest, is it? I might be crazy, but I think this is the biggest 1 in 10 scale figure or statue that they've done before. Thanos is obviously big, but Cull Obsidian is the biggest, so very cool. So yeah, let's get him out and show all of his glory as a statue, and go over the statue. Alright, and here's Obsidian outside of the box, and it is quite a beauty, I must say. So before I got these two statues, I was really wanting to kind of test out Iron Studios, because they kind of sold me on their designs and their poses and everything, but I was really interested in the quality of these statues, because the price point seemed pretty nice. I do think that Iron Studios' pricing is pretty fair, actually. And I was not disappointed in quality. The sculpts in person are very impressive, and then the weight of the statues is very impressive as well. They're made of good materials, and overall their overall size was nice too. Because these are about in scale with Diamond Select almost. They might be a little bit bigger than the Diamond Select scale, but it's about that. They're bigger than Marvel Legends, not as big as Hot Toys though. So it's a scale that I wasn't sure if I was going to be all for, but getting them in person, I'm very much into the scale. I think that is quite nice. But going over Cull Obsidian here, I'll take it handheld and really go over some of the details soon, but he's just going over his overall posture and the pose that they went with. I really do like this. One of the biggest things that sold me on Iron Studios, well, there's two big things that sold me on them. It's character selection, doing characters like Cull Obsidian, which very few companies were doing, and then also it was the poses, because statues, I like statues, they're cool. I don't really collect them a substantial amount, and that's mainly because usually I'm pretty disappointed with the poses. A lot of times they're cool stances, and the best way to describe or to give an example for this is the 1 in 4 scale products that Iron Studios has just started doing for Endgame. That is the style of poses that you see a lot of times with statues, where they're in really cool stances, but they're very simple standing type of things, just not a whole lot of, they're not in battle poses essentially, and that was something that always kind of disappointed me. If I'm gonna have them pose like that, I'd rather just have a hot toy. But having the really substantial poses and action stances is what I really wanted, and that's something that they're very aggressively going into. If you looked at their Endgame line, their statue poses are really intense, and I absolutely love that. I hope that they go full force with that and don't stop that type of direction. But I think the Cull Obsidian stance is really nice. As you can see, he's lunging forward with his weapons, pointing out. This piece is kind of supposed to go with another statue, the Hulkbuster statue, which is actually a statue that I absolutely love. If I didn't buy the Hot Toys Hulkbuster just recently, from Endgame, or from Infinity War, I might have gone with that other Hulkbuster statue. Oh, that's it. Sorry, my statement from the beginning of this video is false. That Hulkbuster statue is the biggest 1 in 10 scale figure or statue that they've made, I think. But that's a really great looking statue, but I can't justify spending almost $300 for that thing when I just spent $400 for the Hot Toys one. I can't drop $700 on Hulkbuster products. But I think that it's really cool, and I think if you had both of them, they'd look great together. However, now that they're doing the rest of the Black Order, I probably would end up displaying him with the Black Order rather than Hulkbuster in the long run anyway. But I really do like the stance. My concern is, though, the stability. Don't get me wrong, he feels super stable. But when you actually look at how he's secured on this thing, there's not a whole lot going on. I originally thought from the pictures, and what you probably think here, is that he's secured on two places, the back foot and the front foot, but he's not. The back foot is the only thing that's touching the base. The front foot here isn't actually making contact with anything, which is a little disappointing because, like, it's not in an extreme enough pose where you can really notice that it's not making contact with anything, and therefore it's just it's not unstable, but it's not as stable as it could be, because obviously if they want to attach something just by one foot, and it's because the pose like really, you know, needs it, and it really can show off a really cool pose, I totally understand that, but here it looks like he's attached by 2 feet anyway. It's not like not having it attached by the right foot makes him look any cooler, because it doesn't. Like, you don't even notice it. So I would have liked it to have this piece be attached to the rock piece there too. I think that would have been much better, because at the moment it's just the back foot that's attached, and it's attached via a sturdy a pole that goes down there. It is metal, which is nice, and carrying him and handling him, he feels totally stable, don't get me wrong, but just knowing that he's attached by one piece and having him be so large, I do worry about how stable he is in the long run. I assume he'll be okay, but just, I would have liked him to be secured by 2 places, because it really wouldn't have affected the piece had it been stabled by 2 places. I'm going over the actual sculpt here. Let's get into it. Alright, looking quite nice. The head sculpt is quite good. I do like it. There we go. Get a good shot of that head. He's looking really nice there. I do like the sculpt quite a bit. He does have like these light outlined pupils, which look pretty nice. I would have almost preferred him without pupils though. I think that the pupils take a little bit away from him, because it almost looks like they just kind of messed up the paint. But if you look closely, you can see that they're actually supposed to be pupils, but just, they're not really necessary. But I do like the skin texture a lot. It's got this like dark green, olive green almost, with like a bit of a gray that's been kind of washed over with the scales with this really dark gray / black. I think it looks really good. As you can see, texturing looks really good. It really looks like a cloth texture, kind of rubber, that his suit's supposed to be made out of. You can really get the feel of the materials used, or the materials that should be used, essentially, which I think is really cool. They've got his little tassel piece correct. The tassel changes depending on the movie to like the statue that was shown, not this statue, but I mean like the statue that was originally shown when they announced the Black Order as just characters in the movie. His weapons are the inaccurate piece, of course. They do have like this kind of translucent look to them at the end, which is quite nice. But they are inaccurate. Obviously, a lot of the Cull Obsidian figures, like the Marvel Legends figure, was completely inaccurate with it having him without a shirt on, obviously based on concept art. And then almost every, you know, figure, statue, or artwork of this guy showed him with these weapons, which are these like kind of little blade pieces, which they look cool, don't get me wrong, but he never uses these in the movie. I was hoping that when we saw him in Endgame, maybe he'd bust out those two things just so that it would make a few things more accurate, but unfortunately he never does use these weapons in either film. But of course these were probably the ones that he was going to use, considering when they first announced this guy and showed the statue of him, like the rest of the Black Order, he had these weapons, and we've seen him in many other pieces of concept art with these weapons, but he never ends up using them, unfortunately. Going down to the base section, looking really cool. I think that the base texture, first of all, the rock, the vines, and the grass. The rock, the vines, and the grass is nicely textured. I think it's good. It's not amazing, but it's nicely done. I do like it. It's got this this brown base, and then the vines on top of it have this kind of orangish, light brown color scheme. And then the grass has a green color scheme, of course. The grass looks quite nice. It could be a lot thinner, though. It's a little spiky. It almost looks like a cactus because it's so thick. I could definitely see that being a little thinner, though. The piece of texturing that I think is really nice, though, is the wood. The wood is textured really good. Like, that's very realistic, and I do like it quite a bit. All the wood is separate pieces that you attach, even this little piece of bark right there, but all the other big chunks of wood are attached on there. And they attach very simply. They just have like a little slot that just gets plugged in. Here's an example. Here's how it gets plugged in, and it goes. This guy, he's a the base is a separate piece, all the wood's a separate piece, his little tassel on his belt is a separate piece, and then the figure himself is separate. Everything else, and you just take all that and attach it on. So the base itself, when I first saw the original just kind of piece of the base, it looked a little plain for me, like it not plain in its design, but just the texturing and the color scheme didn't look as accurate or as realistic as some of the other pieces of him looked. So I was a little disappointed by that, but when you throw him on, he covers up a lot of the base, and then when you throw on the bark, which is really nicely textured and looks very realistic, that adds an extra layer to it. So, you know, the base itself is probably my least favorite when it comes to the detail. However, with everything on it, it really does spruce it all up, and it does look really nice, and it's really realistic too. So overall, really like it. Just doing a quick comparison here. Here he is with the Goddess of Death, another MCU villain, and it's Hela. As you can see, Hela and him are about the same height. He is slightly taller. Even just from his head, he is slightly taller, but then of course, when you counter in for the arm, he's definitely taller than her. They're both about 15 inches from the base to Hela's top of the head and Obsidian's top of his weapon. They're about 15 inches tall. So, you know, a nice size on both of these. I don't have, these are my only two Iron Studios statues, of course. I do want to get more though, because I was interested in these, and I decided to pull the trigger on both of these, and then after getting them, I was fully sold, because, you know, they first sold me on the characters and the design, and now I'm sold on the materials and the quality, since I have them in person, and therefore I definitely plan to get a few more. The rest of the Black Order, I do plan to get. I'm very excited for the Black Order. I think that, you know, having Cull Obsidian, he's obviously going to be the most pricey of the Black Order, so all the rest should be a little bit cheaper, which is nice, and I'll be very interested to see how they do them. They did announce that they're doing them, but they only announced them by name. They didn't show anything, of course. So I hope that it doesn't take them too long to actually make those characters. But I'm excited. My only issue is I hope that their bases look similar. I wouldn't want Cull Obsidian just to be like the one that has the odd base, because he's obviously based off of Infinity War, while I'm assuming the rest of them will be based off of Endgame. They'll probably have the rubble rather than the forest type of bases. So I hope that they'll look good together, but I'm very much excited for those statues. I really want some good poses too. The Diamond Select statue for Proxima Midnight actually has her in a really nice pose. I definitely like something like that for Iron Studios to do for Proxima Midnight. And as far as Ebony Maw, Ebony Maw is the one that I'm definitely going to want the most. I hope that he's in some sort of like gliding pose. I love the shot in Endgame when they're all charging towards each other, and they specifically show the Black Order charging, and you've got Cull Obsidian front and center, and then Proxima Midnight and Corvus Glaive are running behind him, and then to his left you have Ebony Maw just kind of floating towards them all. I think that's really cool. So I hope that they do something like that where he's floating, and if they could do something similar to Scarlet Witch, where he's manipulating the pieces on his base, where it's like he's throwing rubble, that would be really cool. And instead of doing like the red energy that's throwing the rubble on Scarlet Witch's base, you can just do like a clear energy that's throwing the rubble on him, because he's telepathic. So I think that would be really neat. And then as far as Corvus Glaive, I don't quite have a specific pose in mind for him, but just I want something action heavy. I hope that they're all doing something, because obviously Cull Obsidian is like full action, so I definitely like to see that represented in elsewhere. My only real issue with the action versus the texturing of the figure here with Cull Obsidian is the fact that his face is very stone cold. He's very serious, which is okay, but I would have liked a little bit more anger in his face, considering he's in an action stance. This is a fine face if he wasn't so action heavy, but since he's like he's leaping towards presumably the Hulkbuster here, I would have liked to see a little bit more emotion going on in his face. But the sculpt of the figure is wonderful. The size is great, and the price I think is very fair. He retails for $160, $170, I think, which is not a bad price, to be honest. I think this line is just fairly priced overall. They're about half the size of Hot Toys. Sorry, not half the size. They're about half the price of Hot Toys, I guess. They're probably a little less than half, to be honest. And they're nicely bulky figures. Like, both Hela and Cull Obsidian are taller than a Hot Toys figure. And, of course, they're much cheaper than them. And they're obviously much heavier than a Hot Toys figure, too. So, obviously, there's just no articulation. And as far as cloth, there's no cloth on Cull Obsidian. There is actually on Hela, though. But overall, I think that this statue is wonderful. I'm very pleased pleased with the purchase. I can't wait for some more figures from them. I really want Vulture. I'm having trouble getting Vulture for retail. If I could get him for retail, which was like $160, I'd buy him right away. However, $200 is about the cheapest that I can find him now for, so that's a little disappointing. I'm thinking about Killmonger. That statue doesn't impress me a super ton, but he's a good price, and he's of course another villain which would fit well with the statues that I'm kind of collecting from them. And then as far as the others, I'm definitely want the Black Order. The Outrider statue actually looks really nice. I'm quite interested in that one. Red Skull has been announced but not shown. It's apparently pending licensing approval. So as soon as that clears, along with Black Widow, he'll be shown. I'll be excited to see that. And yeah, and then as far as any heroes that I'm considering, I actually really love the Iron Patriot War Machine Endgame statue with Rocket. I think that looks wonderful. That one probably is going to be pretty pricey though, so I don't know if I get that, but I'm certainly into it. And then just the core Avengers, the Trinity. Iron Man, Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. I'm interested in them. I doubt I'll get them, but I am interested in them at the moment. And then, although I love the design for the Doctor Strange statue, I don't plan to get it, but I love the design. So there you go. That's my thoughts on just kind of the Iron Studios line as a whole, now that I'm starting to collect them, as well as specifically my thoughts on this Cull Obsidian statue from them, that is from Avengers Infinity War. Let me know what you guys think of the statue, what statues you're looking forward from them, and also what you think the Black Order line is going to be like. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks so much for watching.